I have a question.
Oh, hey, Ryan Reynolds.
Hi.
Hey. Ryan Reynolds, how's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
I just want to be clear that you should not be the intimacy coordinator. You should definitely hire intimacy coordinators, which we did have. Thank goodness.
You were teaching Justin how to pull you in.
Where have you seen this?
Things just took a dramatic turn for Blake Lively, and not in her favor. After weeks of legal maneuvering, polished PR plays, and a carefully stage-managed media narrative, Justin has detonated a bombshell that could rattle Hollywood to its core. According to newly filed court documents, Blake allegedly offered him a staggering $10 million payout to make the lawsuit vanish. This isn't just an out-of-court settlement, it reads like full-blown hush money. And the timing? More than a little suspicious.
There does just seem to be more and more evidence that she wasn't quite telling the truth. And that is also a horrendous thing, absolutely horrendous. And is she really that arrogant that she thought she could get away with this? I've talked to a few people about this, and they really are of the belief that the money and the power that her and Ryan Reynolds have has probably made them a little bit deluded in thinking that they could bully their way through this situation.
Up until now, Blake and Ryan have moved like two people in complete control. They've walked red carpets, cracked jokes, and played it cool. But if this new allegation has even a shred of truth, it suggests Blake knows she's losing. And it begs the question, what exactly is Justin holding that would make her desperate enough to try and buy his silence? For weeks, whispers have circulated that Blake and Ryan were leveraging their Hollywood clout to turn the media against Justin. It's no secret that certain headlines have painted him as the villain, while keeping Blake's image nearly spotless. But according to some reports, that wasn't just organic public opinion, it was strategy. Sources claim their team actively pushed narratives designed to shift blame onto Justin, ensuring he carried the weight of the scandal. It started with the initial lawsuit, where Blake cast herself as the victim of an unbearable work environment. Once that narrative went public, entertainment outlets quickly ran with it, framing her as a woman under attack, even though no verdict had been reached. And while that kind of narrative control isn't unusual in Hollywood, the problem is always the same. Once real evidence begins to surface, the story is harder to contain. That's where things began to unravel. While Blake and Ryan doubled down on media appearances and carefully choreographed PR moves, Justin did the one thing Hollywood hates most. He stayed quiet. No interviews, no defensive social media posts. Instead, he slipped away to Hawaii with his family, deliberately keeping a low profile and letting the legal process play out. And that silence? It only made things worse for Blake. Because if he were truly guilty, why wasn't he scrambling to control the narrative? Meanwhile, Blake and Ryan were doing the exact opposite, fighting harder and harder to steer the story, even as the cracks began to show.
Oh, hey, Ryan Reynolds.
Hi.
Hey. Ryan Reynolds, how's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
Instead of showing even a hint that the lawsuit was weighing on them, Blake and Ryan seemed to double down on their image. They hit every major Hollywood event, laughing, posing, projecting an air of complete calm. Maybe they thought that's what people wanted to see, a power couple brushing off the drama like it was nothing. But the more they leaned into it, the more it looked like they were trying too hard. The biggest misstep came at Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary. They could have laid low. They could have skipped the event, made the calculated choice to show restraint. But no, Blake and Ryan went, and Ryan took it a step further. On live television, he cracked a joke about the lawsuit. At first, the audience laughed. It was Ryan Reynolds being Ryan Reynolds, self-aware, turning a scandal into a punchline. But the backlash was immediate. This wasn't a harmless PR hiccup. It was an active legal battle with millions of dollars and reputations on the line, and there he was, reducing it to a comedy bit. Sources say Justin's legal team clocked it instantly. Why wouldn't they? Now, they don't just have paperwork to argue their case, they have recorded footage of Ryan downplaying the entire ordeal. And if you're claiming emotional distress, if you're saying your reputation and career have been devastated, you don't go out and laugh about it on national television. Hollywood noticed too. Fans online may argue endlessly, but insiders care about optics. And right now, the optics are bad. Major industry players have reportedly expressed concern over Blake and Ryan's decision to attend. Not because celebrities in lawsuits can't live their lives, but because optics matter when you're claiming to be blacklisted and broken. Blake's entire case hinges on the idea that she's been deeply harmed by what happened on set. But if she's still being embraced by Hollywood's elite, still invited into its most exclusive rooms, then the question practically asks itself, how blacklisted is she really?
It was a Reddit post that was posted in August of last year. Blake Lively went to Sony Studios and said, if you don't go for my cut of this movie, my version of this movie, I will go out in the New York Times and accuse Justin Baldoni of harassment. And as we know, that is what happened at a later point. But if this is true, that she threatened Sony back then to go to the New York Times and accuse Justin Baldoni of these things, that is pretty damn.
And now, with Justin turning the tables and exposing the alleged bribery attempt, Blake's actions look more suspicious than ever. Because if she had nothing to hide, why offer $10 million to make it all go away? This isn't just a messy Hollywood lawsuit anymore. It's the unraveling of a carefully curated image. And if Justin has more receipts ready to drop, this could only be the beginning. Blake Lively's legal battle just took another hit, and this one cuts deeper. As if the alleged $10 million hush offer wasn't bad enough, sources say Justin's legal team is preparing to release new evidence that could dismantle her case completely. And if the whispers are true, Blake knew it was coming, which is exactly why she tried to shut it down before it ever saw daylight. That raises the question, what kind of evidence could be so devastating that she was allegedly willing to pay him off to keep it quiet? Because if this fight were truly about justice, if she were as confident as she's claimed, why offer hush money at all? The only reason to buy silence is if you know that, in a fair fight, you'll lose. And now, right on cue, a wave of new allegations against Justin Baldoni has appeared. Reports of misconduct, vague HR complaints, and just enough carefully worded claims to make headlines. But here's where it all starts to crack. For one, these supposed complaints didn't exist when Blake first filed her lawsuit. They weren't included in the original legal documents. They weren't mentioned in interviews. Yet somehow they've surfaced only now, just as Blake's position in court is slipping. The timing feels almost too convenient. Then there's the paperwork itself. Normally, names are redacted to protect alleged victims, but the dates are missing too. The incidents are vague, the language generic. It's as if the reports were written to sound damning, but not specific enough to be fact-checked. And the contradictions don't end there. In Blake's original filing, she claimed that when she tried to report Justin, Sony told her HR wasn't their responsibility. But now we're supposed to believe Sony documented multiple complaints against him. If they weren't handling HR issues for the production, where exactly did these reports come from? That's the part where public perception shifts. Even those who once stood firmly with Blake are beginning to question the cracks. If her case was strong, why does new evidence keep materializing only when she's losing ground? And that leads to an even bigger revelation. According to industry insiders, this lawsuit may never have been about justice at all. Rumors suggest Blake didn't just want to win, she wanted control. Complete control. Allegedly, she had ambitions for a sequel or even a prequel to It Ends With Us. But there was one problem. Justin owns the rights, which means if Blake wanted creative control of the franchise, she needed him out of the director's chair.
I think we can talk about some things now that he has filed his complaint in his suit against the New York Times. Guys, my opinion stands is that I will not be making decisions or assumptions until we have gotten to the case, because what the heck is happening? So Blake Lively made some very specific allegations saying that Justin Baldoni had come to her trailer when she was topless, and Justin Baldoni had then showed us the text messages where she asks him to come to her trailer, and he also shows how open she was to be breastfeeding in front of other cast and crew, and so this seemed like normal to him. First of all, I believe him there. And like I said in my last video, I've never been convinced of the slander campaign. I have always been convinced that that was organic, because it wasn't these fake or false articles. It was literally people showing footage of Blake Lively by herself. Like, it was just her own downfall. Justin has then showed the text to his PR team where he's like, this isn't us, right? Like, what is this? And they're like, no, this is just organic. Another big thing is that Justin Baldoni proved that in the New York Times article, they not only cherry picked text messages, but they actually altered the text messages themselves, and he showed the originals versus what they posted, which is just like ridiculous. It's one thing to cherry pick. I feel like that's to be expected, especially when you feel like that maybe Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively paid off a friend at the New York Times. I expected that, but to see them actually change it, I think is.
Public perception is where the real damage hits. What began as a clear-cut case of a woman speaking out against a hostile work environment has spiraled into a full-blown circus. The contradictions, the timing of new evidence, the optics, they've all started eroding trust in her story. And once credibility cracks, it's almost impossible to repair. The backlash isn't confined to social media anymore. Industry insiders are quietly questioning her future. Brands that once rushed to align themselves with her are suddenly silent. And behind the scenes, whispers suggest that certain high-profile directors are hesitating to cast her in upcoming projects. Because in Hollywood, credibility is currency. And right now, Blake's is running out fast.
I want to be clear that you should not be the intimacy coordinator. You should definitely hire intimacy coordinators, which we did have.
Well,
thank
you
goodness.
were teaching Justin how to pull you in.
Where have you
love
seen
that.
this?
That
I
clip?
actually just saw it too. I was on Instagram yesterday, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that romance is really important. You're supposed to, tell a story.
At this point, it's no longer just about whether Blake wins or loses in court. It's about whether she'll have any goodwill left to salvage when it's over. And then there's Ryan. Let's not pretend he walks away from this untouched. His entire brand has been built on being the likable, marketable, self-aware guy. But now, he's the man who mocked a serious lawsuit on live television. The husband who stood by while his wife's case unraveled in real time. This isn't just a PR misstep, it's potential career damage. That's what makes the next phase so unpredictable. Blake is cornered. She has two choices: double down, drag this lawsuit out and risk even greater fallout, or find a way to quietly settle before she loses everything. Either way, the ending won't look like the power move she originally intended. What began as an attempt to control the narrative has spiraled into one of the biggest Hollywood scandals in years. And if Justin really does have more receipts waiting in the wings, this may not just be a messy legal battle. It could be the trigger for a full-blown career implosion.